Thank you for the kind introduction. And at the outset, I would like to thank the School of Telemedicine and Bioinformatics because of that we are sitting here and talking about this very important aspect. And of course, COVID has popularized this modality to a wider extent. But at our institute, we had been doing and practicing telemedicine for last 2 decades now. So my this thing limited talk would be on application of telemedicine in surgery. And of course, I'm aware that there would be some overlap in the different application topics. And I would like to keep focus to the surgery itself. So as is true for any specialty of medical science, this telemedicine can be used for education, clinical care, and research purposes. So far as education is concerned, so I need not to tell that this could be widely used for conducting CME programs, conferences, and nowadays we literally have floods of webinar, and that is serving us as medical profession as well as serving society also at large by conducting, we could conduct awareness programs also via this modality. But if we restrict to the traditional education, so how could we exploit this modality? So as we have been doing at our centers, like our center is a super specialty centers and some specialty like endocrine surgery, genetics, rheumatology. So these are very niche specialty. And not only for us, for other specialty as well. In medical science, only theoretical knowledge is not important. And we do become rich in experience when we share our real life experience with other centers, because different centers have different patient population and they react differently to therapy and their outcomes therefore are also different. So at our center, we had been regularly doing, particularly in our department, teaching program with SCB Medical College, which is situated in Orissa, AIIMS Kochi, which is in southern India, another southern Indian Center, CMC Vellore, and another medical university, which is one of the oldest in Northern India, that is King George Medical University. So I have highlighted SCB Medical College here because this center has not only been partner in education, we have done many experience and experiments with this center, and I would be touching upon those a minute later. Then apart from that, we had regularly been conducting institutional gang round at our center, and we had been connecting with not only the centers which are just mentioned here, but other peripheral centers like NTPC, Sonbhadra, etc. And apart from that, as we already know, because of COVID, we had been doing our day-to-day academic sessions via telemedicine. In fact, nowadays, Zoom is a quite popular platform. Not only this, in fact, MCI has also given permission to conduct even examination via this modality. So it has a very far-reaching effect so far as education is concerned, and not only surgical education, in any field of education. And this is one of the area which I would be describing a little bit more, that is specialty development. So what exactly is this? So as I just mentioned that SGPGI, and like our department, we are some of the rare specialties, and there are, as expected, there are few centers which has been imparting this kind of specialized training, and there are likely to be few faculty and few opportunity for training in our country. So what we did as experiment was, like when we, as of now also in a country as vast as India, we have only 4 endocrine sciences centers which have been imparting a dedicated dedicated degree program, which is called MCH in our country. So, but we can see there is need for at least not endocrine surgeon, but thyroid surgeon, because thyroid is a very common disorder, not in our country, but globally as well. So when we started this experiment, so there were some dedicated faculty who already had 10 years post MS experience at SCB Medical College, Cuttack, and they were quite interested in endocrine surgery and in thyroid surgery particularly. So what they did was that these fellows came over to our center for for the duration of 3 to 6 months, and during that time they participated in all our teaching programs, including our clinical care activities and operation theaters. So once they left the space, then we were in regular touch, and we did intense teleconsultation, teleeducation, as well as not real time, but tele-mentoring sessions with SCB Medical College, Cuttack. So here you can see, this is our video conferencing unit, and at that time it was done through ISTN or VSAT, and this is SCB Medical College, Cuttack, which is approximately 2,500 kilometers to the east of Lucknow. And this is SGPGIMS Lucknow, where our endocrine surgery theater is telemedicine integrated theater. So whenever we perform any complex surgery, we could share those surgical experience with our colleagues over there. So, but here, this thing, we need to give equal credit to our colleagues who are placed in SCB Medical College, Cuttack, that they were dedicated and motivated to learn this particular specialty. So over period of time, so this program intense, we still have a regular tele-education session with this medical college, as I just enumerated. But over period of 1998, 2001, while they were undergoing mentoring, so here we have divided this period into 3 phases. So this was phase 2 when this tele-mentoring program was ongoing. Prior to that, we have designated at phase 1, and after that, phase 3. Here you could see, once they were confident in dealing with endocrine cases, there was quantum jump in the number of proportion of the thyroid cases looked after by them. Previous to tele-mentoring, the proportion of thyroid cases was less than 5%. Then during tele-mentoring, it went up to 10%, and thereafter it was touching approximately 20%. And now they have a separate dedicated endocrine surgery department, which has been carved out of general surgery department. And as you can see that over the period of time, the complication rate of their center went down, and it is as good as any internationally recognized endocrine center as of now. And not only thyroid, over period of time, they started taking up other cases like parathyroid and adrenal as well. So at the end of this experiment, you can see, as we concluded, the conclusion is that it not only, this conclusion applied to our study, but this could be true for any other specialty as well. So if there are a group of motivated general surgeons who want to practice any specialty surgery, then that training could be reinforced via telemedicine aided telementoring. So in our specialty, we could say that we were more successful in thyroidectomy because that forms the bulk of practice in our specialty. And that could also be extrapolated to other specialty, because it is not necessary that you could be able to telementor each and every or complex surgeries at the remote end, but bulk of the cases could be managed by remotely placed surgeon, provided they are dedicated, they have a reasonable basic training, and then they continue to pursue their interest in that particular subspecialty. And we are happy to share with you that we could publish our experience in the World Journal of Surgery, and we are equally indebted to our colleagues who came over here and could help us in establishing this facility, and in turn, they have now established their own telemedicine center over there. Now coming to clinical care. So far as clinical care is concerned, and as I had been telling, this could be applied to any surgical practices. So what we had been doing is that we had been doing teleconsultations, pre-referral screening, and tele-follow-up via a telemedicine facility. Apart from that, we have very limited experience of real-time telementoring. Though this thing, we had been telementoring via didactic lectures and case exhibitions, but real-time telementoring experience is not great, and that you could make out there are so many logistic issues involved in that aspect. So far as teleconsultations are concerned, in our department, we have dedicated days, though this has been disrupted due to COVID nowadays. And in fact, nowadays, most of our consultations had been done over WhatsApp or other teleconsultation program, and this was not restricted to only our department, but as all institute as whole. But so far as our department is concerned, we had been running dedicated teleconsultation centers every Monday and Tuesday between 3 to 4 p.m. And this is done in conjunction with SCB Medical College, Odisha. Because as I pointed out earlier, they had been our constant telemedicine partners. So any kind of difficult cases could be discussed during these sessions. We can have a shared decision making, and if there is some, they need some opinion or second opinion regarding telepathology or teleradiology, that is also available. So that's how tertiary care center could augment a healthcare facility at other centers. So far as pre-referral screenings are concerned, like this is particularly relevant to tertiary care centers where there is a lot of crowd and patients are giving designated appointment for surgery. So if we could do pre-referral screening via teleconsultation, this cut down on the travel and visit of the patients, and they come better prepared to the centers. So during these screening sessions, you could go through the diagnostic investigations of the patients, whether those are in orders. And another, apart from diagnostic and staging investigation for any surgery, another important is pre-anesthetic investigation. So a patient need to have, particularly if a case has to be taken under general anesthesia, then patient needs to undergo a battery of tests to exclude any comorbidities which could interfere in administration of general anesthesia. So we have to optimize other comorbidities prior to the surgery. So during that these screening referral sessions, if we find that patient is having any comorbidities like diabetes or hypertension, we could give appropriate advice to the patient. Similarly, if the patient of CAD is on antiplatelet drug, we can tell the patient when to stop antiplatelets prior to surgery. And there are obviously other logistic issues involved with surgery, because surgery is, as compared to medical consultation, surgical cases would be less, and surgery is not a thing which a person would be experiencing on many occasions during that lifetime. So usually this is a quite stressful kind of experience for patients and then relative in general. But during pre-referral screening, we can allay many of their fears. We could tell them what is expected expenditure, what are transfusion requirement, if it is required at all or not, what would be expected duration of stay, and what are the facilities which are available within the hospital and nearby area, and what are, if they're like our center being a government, this is government institute, so there are many government and schemes like Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana, or apart from that, our institute runs some other schemes. So whether they would be beneficiary under those schemes or not, and if yes, what is the process of applying for those financial assistance scheme? And that is very relevant for this thing, resource restrained country like ours. Then, as I said, the most important part of being surgeon is performance of surgery per se. So and in fact, if you people have already listened to so many lectures, at the initiation of the telemedicine, this was in fact developed to take care of the emergency situation where this thing soldiers posted in remote area have sustained head injury, and you could mentor a local physician or other paramedics how to put a burr hole and take care of the emergency situations. So apart from those emergency situations, the main utility is in skill development. So it could augment one's skill. But as I said, that as of now, real-time telementoring is far from reality so far as our country is concerned. Though if we go back in history, first transcontinental surgery was adrenectomy, and that is one of the endocrine surgical procedure. So we have a very limited experience, and this is one of those experience which we also published. This was a patient which was managed at Amrita Institute, Kochi, and patient was suffering from primary hyperparathyroidism, and he was literally bedridden and debilitated and could not be shifted to any other center. This patient had already undergone 2 surgery, and the surgeon there could not localize the parathyroid adenoma, which is offending lesion in this case. So let me tell you here that it's parathyroid adenoma actually is a very small adenoma. Unless surgeon is very experienced, even if it is, the normal dimension of the parathyroid is like 1 centimeter into 5 centimeter, 5 millimeter into 3 millimeter. So, and if gland is more than 1 centimeter, it is known as a large gland, and many parathyroid adenomas are very small, weighing approximately 500 milligram. So sometimes, if the surgeon is not experienced enough in parathyroid surgery, they may not able to localize, or even if it is in front of eyes, they may not able to identify the offending lesion. However, this case was slightly complex one, and the parathyroid adenoma was located inside the mediastinum behind the sternum, and they had to resort to sternotomy. And while sitting here, our senior colleague and founder HOD, Professor Mishra, telementor the team sitting over there in at AIIMS Kochi, and they could successfully take out this adenoma from the mediastinum. And thereafter, patient made an uneven foot, post-operative recovery, gained strength, and was ambulatory after some months. Now, one of the clinical care facility where we had been consistent is post-operative care. So as I said, in our department, we have majority of the patients are not having a malignancy. Even if malignancy is there, like thyroid malignancy, 80% of those are low risk. So a large chunk of these patients could be offered tele-follow-up facility. And we already know that this tele-follow-up facility is well-established facility in chronic diseases, medical diseases like cardiology, neurology, and rheumatology. And in Europe, there is already a well-established web-based treatment planning system there. However, as I said, for surgery, we need to look into the specialty and the indication where it could be applied. But as this thing, COVID has thrown open many possibility and many opportunities. In fact, just prior to me, one speaker, Dr. Sangeeta, was telling that in any team there could be enthusiasts, uncertain, and skeptics. And I have seen in front of my eye that during COVID, many of the skeptics turning into enthusiasts. In fact, our department was the one which had been providing this facility for last 2 decades, but many departments now are doing better than us because of COVID. So I think there is a lot of possibility and scope in this particular area. So if we look at surgery cases in general, so what could be the reason for post-operative visit? So first visit or initial visits are usually related to wound and general care. So patient would be coming back to you for suture removal if sutures have been applied, or any complication related to wound. Then there could be other concern regarding general nutrition after a major surgical procedure. Then patient would be coming back to you regarding medication doses adjustment. And this is one of the most important indications so far as our specialty is concerned, because after thyroidectomy and parathyroidectomy, patients are usually coming back to us for adjustment of thyroxine and calcium doses. Then another important consideration is that if it has been ablative surgery, then patient come back to you for histology or biopsy report, as we call it in general terms. And depending on that report, we decide about further treatment planning, whether patient needs any kind of adjuvant therapy or not. And then long-term follow-up would be decided on case-to-case basis. So as we can see, and you can make out that many of these visits could be curtailed and many could be offered via teleconsultations. And so far as patient point of view is concerned, patient, all these visits, and for that matter, any visit to doctor is associated with inconvenience, anxiety, financial loss, work hour loss, leave issues, domestic and social issues, which are quite prevalent so far as our women patients are concerned, and our specialty deals with a large chunk of the patients in our specialty are women only. So for this also we had a initially we did a feasibility study whether this thing we could follow up these patients after thyroidectomy and parathyroidectomy over tele follow-up or not. And the initial study was conducted between April 2004 and December 2007, and we retrospectively analyzed all that data. However, this data was prospectively kept data, and all these patients were prospectively given at that time of discharge a questionnaire to fill up as well. So during this study, we analyzed what was the nature of surgery for which patients were seeking teleconsultation, what were the specific reasons of consultation, and what was the patient satisfaction, financial saving, and leave saving. So the procedure was like this, that after surgery, when patient is getting a discharge, our senior resident would fix an appointment explaining the exact procedure of the tele follow-up. Of course, now this thing, it is no longer required. Most of our patients know how to communicate over WhatsApp or in real time. But like our patients, this particular subset of patients were coming from the state of Odisha. So that time we could have only one center which was dedicated for which consented to cater these patients for follow-up. That was SCB Medical College. So we told them at this particular date and time you have to report to that medical college, and just technicians sitting over there would be transmitting all their reports and images if required. And from here, we would be looking at those reports. And if a patient has come after surgery for first vision, and we have to send some reports like histology report, etc., then we would be communicating reports from our end and over and above what was the advice that was also that is also communicated in a written format. So whenever on the day of appointment, the telemedicine staff sitting over our center would contact senior resident in our department, and required records are placed in the telemedicine center and retrieved through hospital information system. So here you can see, so this was done in real time. Patients is sitting at SCV Medical College, Cuttack. Doctor is sitting at SGPGI. And one of the important thing is, like, if the patients, we at Lucknow are Hindi speaking state, but many of our patients do not come from the Hindi speaking state. And if they have to visit, like from West Bengal, Orissa, they have to visit to SGPGI, they have to have an attendant who is conversant in both language and could interpret for the patient. However, when they are sitting in their own state, and this problem is taken care of, and the OPD staff or patient helper could act as interpreter, though this could also have some privacy issues which should be looked into. So like this patient has come after hemithyroidectomy operation, and she has come for her histology report. We have communicated her histology report. As you can see the date, April 2004, and this report was communicated as minimally invasive follicular carcinoma. So this is a low risk thyroid cancer, and patient need not to go any further surgery, and her annual follow-up would involve thyroglobulin estimation, ultrasound, apart from local clinical examination. So this same patient, this patient was put on follow-up. Same patient's reports after 1 year. Her thyroglobulin level is within normal limit, and she continues to be on follow-up. So here we can see it's her fourth tele follow-up visit, and after looking at her history and reports, she was found to be hypothyroid. So she was put on thyroxine. And so we advise her to continue the same and to contact us after 6 months with serum thyroglobulin and serum TSH report. So at the end of our study, we found that more than 50% patients contacted us for their biopsy report. And in 2 or 3/4 of these cases, no further visit was required, as the pathology was benign and they could be followed up over teleconsultation. Then, as I said, our ablative, we mostly perform ablative kind of surgery in form of parathyroidectomy or thyroidectomy. Then patients are put on thyroxine or calcium, and these doses could also be adjusted over teleconsultation. Once we look at their reports and what dose patient is receiving, then we could easily titrate the dose. And 15% of our patients were having thyroid cancer. And of course, all these were low risk thyroid cancer, but even for high risk thyroid cancer, and one of our colleagues would also be giving that presentation, we could set appointment for whole body radioiodine scan over teleconsultation, and thereafter we could adjust their TSH suppression doses as well. So far as patient point of view is concerned, they save a lot of money, but whether this is really cost effective for hospital or not, that needs to be looked into. But what my guess is, once the system is in place in long term, and if we could this thing work out on some revenue and generation model, in long term, this is going to be cost effective for hospitals as well. And so far as outcome are concerned, majority of the patient felt that their experience was quite excellent. And here you could see, like, our is a tertiary referral center, and patient travel from far distances to reach the hospital. So they could save a substantial number of leaves on an average a week. And majority of the patients said that they would prefer tele follow-up. So after that, our data has matured, and I'm sorry, actually this thing, that latest slide is missing. but we have added in our tele-follow-up system adrenal disorders as well. And majority of our patients had completed more than 3 years of follow-up, and some patients are as old as 15 years. So what we have observed that during this care continuum, so if we look at indication, initial visits are usually for review of histology or medicine doses adjustment. Subsequent visits are for this thing, continuing medicine doses adjustment and long-term tumor surveillance. And benefits, as we can see that our resources better utilized, and we can discharge patient early, and this is likely to be safe discharge. Like as I said, the patients are traveling from far off places. So previously what used to happen, that patient used to stay back in hospital till their histology report is available, because we don't have that kind of GP system, well-developed GP system in our country, that we operate the patient and discharge the patient and attach them to their GP. So, but with this facility, patient could be discharged early, and we could follow them up over telemedicine. And this could definitely support rural and remote mobile surgery. And from our point of view, academic center's point of view, we could ensure good follow-up, because patient compliance is definitely better when they are sitting at their home and they could consult their doctor. And this also helps us in our academic pursuit, because we can know what was the outcome of our intervention, and if you want to plan long-term study and where you require long-term follow-up, this facility could help you in long-term. So it has it would not only help you in education and day-to-day clinical care, but this has great research potential. As such, telemedicine is a field of great research. So at last, in conclusion, what I can say that we believe that telemedicine facility could augment the status of not only medical education, but healthcare delivery to our patients as well. Thank you very much for patient hearing.